Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the ultimate guide to playing the Executor in Elden Ring Nightreign. This character has the Curse Blade here, which is able to parry any attack outside of grabs. Now it does have a bit of a DPS drop, as the weapon is going to act as though it's a white rarity weapon until you hit level 12, and then it'll scale up to a little bit past a blue weapon. So it does have a low amount of damage, but it's obviously meant for parrying and doing guard counters. So you can kind of build your whole kit around doing the guard counter here, which is whenever you parry an attack and then follow up with the R2 or right trigger attack right away. You hear that sound go, but if you get attacked right afterwards, it doesn't end up doing the attack. So you can see there I pulled off the guard counter, which does a massive amount of posture damage. It is a little bit challenging to get that down though. Another thing with the cursed sword is when you pull the cursed sword out, this counts as a parry, and when you put it away as well. So you can also parry it by just drawing the weapon out, and also that attack there will count as a parry too. So there are 3 different ways you can parry outside of pressing the right bumper there to do your normal parries. They do a bit of stance damage, but it's not as high as in games like Sekiro, so if you've played that, you're not going to be breaking posture or stance as quickly, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, I don't actually think that the Curse Blade is the best part of the Executor's kit. It's his S scaling in both Dexterity and Arcane, which allows him to utilize some weapons extremely well, like the Rivers of Blood Katana, which allows you to do the Corpse Piler here, stacking up bleed extremely quickly, as this is an Arcane-based weapon. I also think it's good to use things like the Rapiers here, which have S scaling and Dexterity. The 2 best would be the Scarlet Rot one as well as the Frozen Needle, because you can apply statuses really quickly with this, especially if you have any gear that's benefiting you from taking or applying any of those statuses. So you can actually get a relic later on that'll make you turn invisible when you inflict Frostbite, and then you can also apply Frostbite to your main katana. So that's another really nice method. So on the main katana here, I got poison and bleed buildup with Chilling Mist. So whenever you use the weapon art, the Chilling Mist will apply frost on your weapon, so then you can attack and you'll be dealing bleed as well as poison damage and the Frostbite, so you can get multiple statuses built up on the enemy really quickly. With the Executor's S scaling in Arcane and Dexterity, the Rivers of Blood is possibly the best weapon to find on your journey, as it has a very useful weapon art. I also like to get Moonveil, even though it does scale a bit off of our intelligence, as the stagger damage from this is extremely useful. And the Hand of Millennia there, this can be extremely powerful, especially if you're going against a boss and you have greases. You can apply this grease and it does so much damage to the enemy because of the large area of effect hit box. But you're likely going to find lots of Yuji Katanas as well as Naga Kiba, and the Naga Kiba is solid because it's a very long katana, and you're starting one, if you get the Frostbite and Poison on it, very useful. I wouldn't really recommend the Serpent Bone Blade, as there's no bleed, alongside the Dragon Scale Blade, and the Meteoric Orb Blade is just a worse version of Moonveil. You can also benefit from Morgoth's Cursed Sword, as this is another Arcane-based weapon and it's also extremely powerful. And Bloodhound's Fang Link in base Elden Ring is also a good choice for weapon. And as I mentioned, getting the Rapiers, the Antspur Rapier, as well as Frozen Needle allows you to apply statuses, and they have a nice L1 power stance attack, so those can be good choices as well. They have the scaling S on Dexterity, making them a pretty good choice. And also, if you can find the Dragon King's Crag Blade, I found this quite a bit. It does have a nice weapon art as well. The Mariah's Executioner Sword is another pretty useful sword to find, although it's not going to be the absolute best. You may find this on your runs, and it's a solid choice, although if you have a Wilder, it's probably better on them. And the Regalia of Yaokaid here is another good weapon, as it does have scaling in Arcane and a good weapon skill. And if you're able to find Reduvia Dagger, it's also quite good, although Duchess would also prefer having this blade, but it does have good scaling on Arcane and a pretty useful weapon art. Mogwin's Sacred Spear is also a good weapon as well. The weapon art is the big one here, and also apply the Blood Flame to the blade itself, but it's got a larger effect on its damage. And finally, Eleanor's Pole Blade is another good one with a fun weapon art, although I would personally prefer Rivers of Blood over anything. Some of the best relics would be the Knight of the Wise here, increasing our max FP, which is not major, but inflicting poison on our main weapon. You can use this from any other relic that you can find. And this will also give you increased attack power when you apply poison, which is huge, because then we also got the Knight of the Miasma. So nearby, Frostbite Conceals Self, which is actually a low-key, pretty powerful ability if you're able to get in position and just spam your attacks. Changes compatible armament to Chilling Mist, which will apply the Frostbite. And then your attack power goes up whenever you apply Frostbite, or Frostbite Afflicted Enemies. So these two will give you big power boosts to your damage. And then for the final one, make sure that you're able to get the Partial Health Restoration on post-damage attacks. And also getting the Roaring restores health points while art is active is also a nice one to have, as in your wolf form, you're able to regenerate and take up your teammates really quickly with that. And the fire attack power up is nice too for Rivers of Blood. And when we're in our wolf form, one of the best ways to revive your down allies is to do the roar attack here. So this is the same button you'd be pressing to do your block with. And it's actually nice because of its large area of effect. So you can do that attack there to push back enemies as well. You got obviously your main attacks that you can do here. So the claw swipes, and then you can follow up with the right attack here, which does a large area of effect as well. Swipe. So that's with the right trigger R2 button. And then if you press L2, it'll actually do a very powerful attack, but it'll take you out of this form. So I would recommend not doing this too often, as the attack power is not that great from that when you could just spam the roar there. So if your teammates are down, just spam roar. That's really the best way to do it. Another useful tip is if you're stuck in the rain here and you're about to go down with no heals, you can use your ultimate as a backup here, as you'll run faster and it gives you a full health bar to run with, so that can be useful in a pinch if you have no other option. But the first thing that we want to be doing at the start of the day, I'd recommend actually using your katana, because that bleed is actually really nice. Your curse blade here doesn't really do the most damage, but if you have your full team focusing on someone, that can be pretty big. It's the bleed buildup for your main katana that's going to be extremely useful, as well as the frostbite and poison if you have that applied. Now you can see here, against bosses that are immune to bleed, use your Executioner Curse Sword there, as that's going to be absolutely the best choice, as it doesn't drain your stamina as much as other blades do. But any other time, if you're able to flank and get behind a target and use your power stance katanas, the L1 or left bumper attack, that's going to be really useful. Also, that attack there that gets you knocked back, you can actually do a guard counter after it, even if you're not near the boss. If you have any of the abilities that give you bonuses, like Holy Ground on a guard counter, you can actually use those. Now, here's a very unfortunate thing. If there's large area of effect attacks from a boss, you can see there, it'll melt your ultimate really quickly as it's getting hit, and then it'll take you out really fast as well. Another thing, you can parry pretty much every single thing in the game outside of grabs. So if you see an attack like this coming in, you can just hold down the parry button after the first one. Another cool thing is anytime that you got any items that give you effects while they're in your main hand or offhand, you can use your curse sword and get the benefits of both. Now, one of the ones that I recommend is anytime that you can get one that's going to release the ghost flames whenever you're walking around. This can be useful for holding aggro, as one of the biggest problems with the Executor is the don't hold aggro that well, because your other teammates are likely going to be out DPSing you if you got your curse sword out. So this can be a nice way to be able to maintain aggro on a boss. Now again, any boss that's going to resist your bleed, I would recommend taking out your curse sword and just using that for the lower stamina attacks, and then swapping to your katanas and using the relevant attack skill. Now, Chilling Mist is going to be a good solid one, because especially with the relic that you can get that can turn you invisible, allowing you to flank so much better. You can see here, sometimes it's the best medicine for a boss fight is to just go behind it and spam L1, as you're going to continually do attacks that inflict the bleed buildup, poison, and all extra damage types. Now, against some bosses, like Gladius, they run around a lot. This is not a boss that I would recommend bringing out your curse sword much. However, if you are going to use it, use the pull-out method there to get the curse blade out and parry using it. Otherwise, the boss is going to run from you to another attacker, and it's going to keep the aggro away from you. So this is a boss where I'd recommend just bringing the two katanas. Any other boss that moves around really quickly, I'd recommend just having the two katanas out and try to stack up your statuses. Fulgor, the Dark Drift Knight's another boss. I'd recommend that strategy. Now, for bosses that are weak to poison, that's where we really shine. So Gaping Jaw's a really good one, because we can stack poison with our main blade there, and we can just power stance them, applying another status as well. So that can be really useful in a pinch if we need to take out a boss. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button if this video is useful, and hope you have a great time playing as the Executioner. I do think he is a little bit weaker than some of the other characters, and if you're looking for something similar, Raider is also a good choice.